He woke up to nothing. No beeping monitors, no distant traffic, no AC hum, just silence. Like someone hit mute on the entire universe. Light stabbed through his eyelids, harsh, clinical, definitely not a hospital. He tried to move. Wires tugged at his arms, his neck, his ribs, cold, invasive. Panic surged, then flatlined, because panic needs memory. And he had zip. The ceiling above, smooth metal, curved weird. No architect on Earth would ever design this. He turned his head. Two people beside him, strapped into identical frames, pale, still, frost tracing their collars, no rise in their chests. He tried to scream, just a dry rasp. Then it hit him, not as a thought, but as a fact, heavy and cold. This wasn't Earth. He wasn't in a hospital. He wasn't even on a planet. He was inside a vessel, adrift, alone. A display flickered to life beside him. Symbols shifted, simplified, resolved. Vessel, silent wind, distance traveled, 8.2 light-years. Destination Vela 9 system. The name meant nothing, but the numbers did. 4 had launched. Only 1 remained. The wires retracted, peeling away with mechanical gentleness. Warmth flooded back. Pain followed. Real, reassuring. He was alive. Bare feet touched the floor. Warm. Artificial gravity pressed him down, weak but undeniable. Whoever built this planned for recovery after something catastrophic. He staggered toward the bodies. Up close they looked older than he felt, though he had no idea how old that was. Gray hair, faces lined not by years, but by exhaustion. He searched their features for recognition, and found none. That scared him more than the corpses. A new alert flashed. Crew status, 1 active/3, terminated cause, thermal driver failure. 3. There had been 4. Guilt, raw, undeserved, hit his chest. He didn't know their names, but he knew they'd trusted him, trusted the math, trusted the mission, trusted humanity to be worth saving. A sharper alarm pulsed. The ship was decelerating. Automatic braking had begun days ago, days he'd slept through, suspended in chemically enforced silence. Karim forced himself upright. If he'd been sent here, Earth was already out of time. Every second mattered, every mistake. He reached for the viewport controls. Outside, stars stretched into streaks of blue-white fire as the ship shed impossible velocity. Then, slowly, the cosmos reassembled into points. 1 star dominated the view, smaller than Sul, cooler, unnervingly steady, not fading. Still. Relief washed over him. Then confusion. Something else hung in the darkness. A shape. Angular, metallic, unmistakably artificial, silhouetted against the star's glow. Another ship. Not human. The hairs on his arms rose. Unfamiliar alarms sounded. Tones he'd never heard. Patterns no Earth system used. His mind raced, grasping for explanations that refused to form, because whatever waited out there had arrived long before him, and it was not alone. The alien vessel hung in the void like a shard of obsidian glass, sharp, seamless, radiating no heat, no signal, no sign of life. Yet Karim felt it watching him. He held his breath, not out of fear, out of instinct. Because on Earth, silence meant danger, a predator waiting, a system failing, a star dying. But this silence, different, not absence, presence, compressed. A soft vibration hummed through the deck, not sound but pressure. Like the deep note of a bell struck light years away. The display flickered. Not warnings, patterns, geometric, repetitive, intentional. Karim stumbled to the comms array, old, analog, built for last resort contact. He bypassed protocols, rerouted power, and opened a channel. No voice, no language, just raw signal. He sent a pulse, 1 beat, paused, sent 3, paused, sent 2, simple, universal, prime numbers, the oldest hello in the book. Silence. Then, a calm, clear voice filled the chamber, like wind through crystal. Karim Zaidi, we have waited. His heart hammered. They know my name? You taught us silence has a voice. Will you speak with us? He rushed to the airlock control, fingers flying. Override safety. Manual vent cycle. Cycle 1, 100 kilopascals. Hold. Cycle 2, 70 kilopascals. Release. Cycle 3, 120 kilopascals. Pulse. The ship groaned in protest. But the alien vessel responded instantly, its outer hull rippling like water struck by a stone. A new pattern glowed on the console. 4 pulses. Pause. 1. Pause. 5. A laugh escaped him, raw, disbelieving, not joy, awe. Before he could speak, the voice returned, gentle and resonant. Your numbers are beautiful. They sing of circles and connection. The airlock cycled slow, no explosive decompression, no drama, just a quiet equalization, like 2 lungs syncing up. Karim stepped across the bridge, a thin, flexible tube of woven carbon, extended silently by the alien vessel. He wore no suit, no helmet, just a thermal layer and biosensors taped to his temples. If this was a trap, he wouldn't survive 3 seconds. If it wasn't, he might save 2 worlds. The far hatch dilated inward, not sliding but unfolding like a flower in reverse. And there, standing in the soft amber light, was it. Crystalline, 7 limbs radiating from a shimmering core, no eyes, no mouth, but across its torso, translucent plates flexed rhythmically. It tilted its upper cluster toward him. A low, resonant thrum filled the corridor, not threatening. Curious. Karim raised his hand. Open, empty. Then slowly he exhaled, long and steady, into the shared atmosphere. The being mirrored him. Its plates pulsed. Pressure rose, fell, rose again. A question. Karim nodded. Yeah, he whispered. I'm here. The voice returned, softer now, like a shared breath. The hush weaver does not steal light. It holds it, like a seed holds spring. Earth's chaos is the rain. Together, we grow. They called themselves the Kethari, not a name, a state, those who listen to the quiet. Their star, too, had begun to still, centuries ago. They hadn't fought it. They'd studied it, learned that the fungal lattice, their name for it was Jarkal, the hush weaver, didn't destroy energy. It stored it, like a battery woven from space-time itself. Karim replied, voice steady. But Earth's freezing. We want fire. A long stillness. Then, the Kethari extended a limb, not to touch him, to point toward silent wind. Within its core, light coalesced into a projection, a sphere. Inside it, silver threads wove a lattice, alive, intricate. Then a second sphere, identical, joined it. The threads reached across the gap, connected, and the first sphere began to glow again. Symbiosis, Karim breathed. The Kethari's voice came, warm and sure. You may go home, or stay. But know this, no one listens alone. We will listen with you. The choice came at dawn, or what passed for dawn in deep space. The Kethari gave him 2 probes. 1, loaded with resonator schematics, bound for Earth. 2, powered by Karim's neural signature, designed to anchor the resonance in Soul's core. He could send both, return home, be hailed as the savior, or he could stay, pilot the second probe himself, embed his consciousness via the stillness-resistant neural lace into the resonator's core, guide the release, second by second, breath by breath. Because the math was clear, autonomous systems would fail at the corona's edge. Only a living will, one that understood silence, could hold the balance. Karim stood at the observation blister, watching Vela 9's motionless star. The Kethari waited behind him, silent, respectful. He thought of his students in Cairo, their questions, their wonder. He thought of frost on street carts, of voices raised in song on a winter night, of a world that still breathed. He didn't hesitate. He keyed the comms. Send probe 1 to Earth. Full priority burst. Then, softer, tell them, the wind's coming back, as the probe.
The probe fell towards Sol like a whispered prayer. Kareem didn't fly it. He breathed with it. His consciousness floated in a sea of stillness. Velaf, the Kethari called it, the listening before the song. Around him, the corona roared at 2 million degrees. But inside the probe, silence. Deep, holy. He felt the hush weaver, not as a threat, but as a presence. A vast silver lattice, dense, dormant, waiting, like a seed buried in permafrost. It hadn't killed the star. It had protected it. But protection left too long becomes prison. And Earth was freezing in its shadow. Kareem exhaled. Not air. Intent. A pulse of controlled instability. Tuned to a heartbeat. To wind through pines. To a kid's laugh on a swing. The lattice trembled. Then, a single thread glowed. Not white. Not gold. Emerald. A color no human I had ever seen in stellar light. It spread, slowly, like dawn cracking ice. Thread by thread, the weaver woke up. Not to consume. To release. Stored energy flooded back into the plasma. Fusion flared. The sun inhaled. And then it breathed. Across the inner system, satellites blinked online. Ice caps stopped growing. In Antarctica, a sensor that hadn't chirped in 11 years let out a single, clear ping. On Earth, no one saw the change at first, but they felt it. In Kyoto, a gardener paused as cherry buds swelled, weeks early. In Reykjavik, a mom stepped outside at midnight and gasped. The auroras weren't green. They were gold. In Nairobi, farmers looked up and whispered. The winds changed. The first signal from silent wind arrived 8 minutes later, carried not by radio, but by neutrino bursts, encoded in the rhythm of Kareem's last conscious breath. It wasn't fire we needed. It was memory. The star remembered how to burn. Now go. Remember how to live. Years later, they built the Zaidi Institute, not to study stars, but stillness. And every winter solstice, the world went silent for 60 seconds. Not in mourning, in gratitude, in memory of the linguist who taught humanity that even silence can speak, if you're brave enough to listen. Because the future isn't built on explosions. It's built on breath, on showing up tired human and willing to try. That's HFY. 10 years after first breath, the world had learned to listen, not with fancy gear, not with noise-canceling headphones, with stillness. In Cairo, the Zaidi Institute rose where a traffic circle used to choke the city, a low dome of sandstone and crystal, open to the sky. Inside, kids sat in circles, eyes closed, hands resting on warm stone slabs embedded with Kethari resonators. They weren't meditating. They were tuning in. Among them was Yasmin, now 16, her dark hair braided with silver threads, a gift from the first Kethari envoy. She didn't wear earbuds. Didn't need to. She heard the world, the hum of the Nile, the sigh of solar rays on rooftops, the slow, deep pulse of Earth's core, steady, strong, alive, and sometimes beneath it all a whisper, soft, rhythmic, familiar. 1, 3, 2, Kareem's first greeting. The other kids heard only silence. But Yasmin, she heard the space between sounds. That's why they called her Al-Mustamieh, the listener. One evening, as the call to prayer echoed over the city, Yasmin didn't rise with the others. She pressed her palm to the resonator slab and pushed back, not with force, with breath. A single, deliberate exhale, shaped like a question. The slab warmed. Light bloomed beneath her fingers. 1, 1, 0, 1, yeah, I'm here. Her eyes flew open. Tears, not of sadness, but of recognition. It wasn't a recording. It wasn't AI. It was response. Kareem wasn't gone. He was waiting. And now he had heard her. Across the courtyard, Dr. Lena Hayes, Yasmin's grandmother, Kareem's former student, froze. Her wrist monitor spiked. Neural resonance detected. Frequency match. 99.8% source. So coronal anchor, she ran to Yasmin, dropped to her knees. Yamar? She whispered. What did you hear? Yasmin smiled through tears. He said, the signal's coming. Be ready. A soft chime filled the air. From the sky, a Kethari envoy ship, Whisper Dawn, descended silently. A voice calm and ancient echoed in the courtyard. The call has come from the deep silence. She hears it. She is ready. That night, the deep array recorded it. A new pulse, gentle, golden, from the direction of Vela 9. Not a warning. A handshake. Earth had given back fire. The Kethari had given back light. Now, humanity was being invited to join the next verse. Yasmin stepped onto the rooftop, closed her eyes, and for the first time, she didn't just hear the wind. She spoke to it. She didn't hear the future. She heard the echoes. The creak of a door in Alexandria. 3 days ago. The burst of a solar flare. 12 minutes in the past. The soft sigh of her mom falling asleep. Still unfolding just behind the now. Time for Yasmin wasn't a line. It was a playlist. All tracks playing at once. And one voice sang, just out of sync. It started on her 18th birthday. She stood atop the Zaidi Institute, eyes closed, palms open to the dawn wind. The city below stirred, buses humming, kites rising, the Nile whispering over stones. Beautiful, chaotic, alive. Then a silence, not absence, a gap, a 3-second hole in the world song. Inside it, a single pressure wave pulsed, faint, frayed, familiar. 1101 broken. Yeah, I'm here but fading. Her eyes flew open. She knew that rhythm. Kareem. But this wasn't from Soul's corona. It was scattered, like a signal torn by distance or damage. She pressed her hands to the resonator dome. Where? She whispered, not with her mouth, but with her breath, her intent, her stillness. The dome shimmered. Light wove a map in the air. Earth Vela 9, then a sharp turn off the galactic plane toward a region labeled only. The fracture. A void. No stars. No gas. Just absence. The Kethari call it Karveth, the unwoven, a place where the Hushweaver's lattice had failed, where stillness turned to entropy, where even light unraveled, and something was pulling Kareem's signal into it. The Kethari envoy ship, whispered Dawn, arrive in orbit within hours, not for diplomacy, for rescue. Their leader, a being named Thale, extended a crystalline limb. In its core, light swirled, data, memory, urgency. A voice, deep and resonant, filled the airlock chamber. This wound wasn't made by the loom. It was made by fear. And fear is a silence no one answers. Yasmin nodded. Kareem's signal is decaying. If it reaches the center, it won't just silence him. It'll erase the resonance. Earth's sun will, still again, Thale finished. But this time permanently. No one spoke odds. No one said, "You're just a kid," because humanity had already proven its answer to impossible choices. The whisper of dawn folded space, not with speed, but with stillness. Yasmin stood at the observation blister, watching stars compress into rings of light. In her hand, she held Kareem's old neural lace, salvaged from silent wind, now humming faintly in sync with her pulse. "How will we find him?" she asked. Thale's plates flexed, releasing a slow, deep tone. "We don't search for him." A pause. "We listen for the gap." As they crossed into the fracture, the universe changed. Stars didn't fade. They stuttered, flickering in and out of existence, like a corrupted video. Time itself frayed at the edges. Yasmin's breath came in gasps, not from fear, but dissonance. Her gift, her curse, screamed in the chaos. Then she heard it. Not a signal. A silence within silence. A perfect sphere of nothing. And at its heart, the single, fading pulse. 1, 1, 0, 1. Kareem was still fighting. Still listening. Yasmin placed her palm on the hull. Closed her eyes. And did what no machine, no Kethari, no adult had ever tried. She didn't send power. She didn't send data. She sent memory. Not of soul. Not of Earth. Of a classroom in Cairo. Sunlight. Chalk, dust. A young teacher, Kareem, drawing a sine wave on the board. "This," he'd said, "is how the universe sings. Not in shouts. In waves. In breath." She poured that moment, warm, human, ordinary, into the void. The fractured stars hesitated. The stutter slowed. And from the silence, the new pulse emerged. Stronger, clearer, 1101, whole again. Then a voice filled with awe. Velaf, the listening before the song. You have given us the first note. Yasmin smiled. She wasn't just a listener anymore. She was a bridge. And the song was just beginning. The fracture wasn't broken. It was unfinished. As Yasmin stood at the edge of the void, Kareem's signal pulsing in her palm like a second heartbeat, the truth hit her, not as data, but as understanding. This region, carved at the unwoven, wasn't a wound in space-time. It was a loom thread, severed long ago, a strand meant to connect Sol to Vela 9 to the galactic core and beyond. And the force that cut it? Not malice. Fear, a species, ancient and desperate, had once faced an entropic wave, the same crisis that birthed the Weaver. But instead of weaving stillness, they chose isolation. They severed their star's connection to the lattice, hoping to hide. They succeeded. Their star still burned, but their world had gone silent. Forever. Their final broadcast, buried in the fractured static, wasn't a warning. It was a whisper. We chose to stand alone. Now no one hears us call. Yasmin turned to Thale. We can't just repair the thread, she said. We gotta invite them back. The Kethari hummed, a sound like crystal bells in a deep well. Then a voice, steady and wise. To weave is to trust. To trust is to risk. Will you hold the thread with us? She nodded. Then, without hesitation, she stepped into the resonator chamber, the same one Kareem had used to awaken Sol. But this time, it wasn't tuned to a star. It was tuned to absence. She closed her eyes, placed her hands on the warm crystal, and began to sing, not with her voice, with her memory. She gave the void. The laughter of kids in Cairo's alleys a call to prayer at sunset, the hum of the loom in a Marrakesh, souped the rhythm of a heartbeat newborn. In a Nairobi hospital, the silence between notes in a raga played on a monsoon night, not as data, as offering. This is who we are. This is why we're worth weaving back in. For 3 hours, she held a resonance. Thale and the Kethari surrounded her, amplifying her intent with their own stillness. Kareem's signal, now strong, steady, anchored the frequency. Then, a flicker. Deep in the fracture, a single point of light ignited. Not white, not gold, indigo. And from it rose a new pulse, tentative, trembling. Then a voice, soft, trembling, hopeful. We hear you. We remember ourselves. Thank you for remembering us. Yasmin didn't push. She breathed. 1101, we're here. We're listening. The indigo light pulsed again. Stronger. 0000, when we remember how to sing. Across the galaxy, stars shivered. Not in fear. In recognition. In Vela 9, the Kethari fleet formed a great spiral, mirroring the Weaver's lattice, and released a wave of balanced resonance. In Sol's corona, Kareem, no longer just an anchor, but a conductor, guided the sun's energy into a harmonic cascade. On Earth, every resonator in every Zaidi classroom, hospital, and home sang. The severed thread reconnected, not with a bang, with a note, a single, pure frequency, born of human memory, Kethari geometry, and the courage of one girl who heard time, rippled through the Weaver's lattice, and the unwoven wove, the fracture filled with light, not harsh, not blinding, a soft, deep indigo glow, the color of twilight on a world that had forgotten dawn. From its heart, a ship emerged, not angular, not crystalline, organic, flowing, like a seed pod opening after rain. Its hull pulsed with the same 00001 rhythm. They called themselves the Lorani, those who returned. They had no weapons, no shields, only a single message carried on the breath of their ship's outer membrane, now spoken in clear, grateful English. We hear you. We remember us. Thank you for remembering us. 1 year later, the first joint station orbited the newly woven nexus. The convergence. Human Kethari and Lurani engineers worked side by side, not with shared language, but shared stillness. In its heart, a new resonator spun. 3 cores, 3 signatures, 1 song. Yasmin stood at the viewport, watching stars pulse in gentle synchrony. In her hand, a small crystal hummed. Kareem's final gift, delivered via neutrino burst on the day the Lurani arrived. You didn't save me. You reminded me why I was listening. Now it's your turn to teach. Behind her, a group of kids, human, Kethari young, even a small Lurani sprout, sat in a circle, palms on warm stone, eyes closed, breaths aligned, listening, not for danger, not for answers, for the next note in the song. And far away, in the quiet between galaxies, the loom waited, threads now in many hands. Because humanity didn't conquer the silence. We learned to sing inside it. That's HFY.